the. Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to what I did with my degree presented by the CUNY School of Public Health Office of Career Services. My name is Deep Shah, and I'm a second-year MPH candidate right now. I recently completed my internship with the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, whereas a case investigator intern for zoonotic and vector-borne diseases. I'm also a TA for one of the courses named Designs and Concepts of Research Methodology, and a campus ambassador for the admissions department at CUNY School of Public Health. I'm joined by my co-moderator here for the evening, Briana, who will be engaging with you guys in the chat. Briana, if you can introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Briana Monk. I'm in my fourth semester at CUNY School of Public Health, and my concentration is population health informatics. I'm currently working on trying to secure my research project for my capstone at this time. So I hope you guys enjoy today's presentation.
Nice to hear from you, Brianna. Okay, so tonight we will hear from public health professionals who are also CUNY School of Public Health alumni, and who holds a master's of public health degree in epidemiology and biostatistics. They will speak to us about their professional experiences and share valuable tips and takeaways. Unfortunately, our population health informatics alum, Jalisha Hanshaw, will not be joining us tonight, but her contact information would be shared in the chat by Brianna. And for those who are interested in connecting with her, they can look out for the information provided. Before we begin the panel, I want to give a brief description of both the degree programs, which is MPH in Epi and Bio and MS in Population Health Informatics. So the MPH in Epi and Bio prepares students to design and conduct public health research and apply findings to improve the health of populations. And the MS in Population Health Informatics addresses the growing opportunity to use technology to implement evidence-based solutions for improvement of population health outcomes. For more information about these degrees and also other degrees that have been offered at CUNY School of Public Health, you can visit the link that will be again posted by Brianna in the chat. Tonight's panel will include moderated questions for our panelists and a Q&A segment where the panelists will get to hear from you guys, that is the audience, directly. As a reminder, you'll be able to visit the other breakout rooms as well, meanwhile. And until we reach the final Q&A segment, please use the chat for any questions or comments you may have. And you can post your questions or comments in the chat and that'll be addressed later. Now let's hear from our panelists. Good evening, panelists. I'm so excited to be speaking with you guys. And I look forward to hearing more about your experiences, not just as CUNY SPH alumni, but also as public health professionals. To get started with, you guys will please each of you introduce yourself. We can start with Ephraim, Tropp.
Great. So thank you, Deep, and Brianna for moderating this panel. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Great. So yeah, I'm Ephraim Tropp. I did a master's in public health and epidemiology and biostats, graduating in May 2018. Currently, I work as a senior director of client services and execution at Pear Sciences, a division of Publicis Health. We provide marketing and consulting services to pharmaceutical and diagnostic companies, helping them improve patient access to their products by communicating with health insurers and decision makers at health systems. In my role, I do primarily a bunch of things: project management, liaising with clients to make sure they're happy with what we are delivering to them and growing the business relationship with them, and also conducting market research and putting together PowerPoint presentations and occasionally helping facilitate workshops.
Hey, that's great to hear from you, Ephraim. Now I'd like Mimi Curro to talk a little bit about herself.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry.
Hey, everybody. My name is Mimi. I graduated from the MPH in Epi Biostats in May 2024. I'm currently working for a nonprofit organization called Children's Aid. We're right in Harlem, just a couple blocks down from CUNY SPH, actually, and we support kids and families in poverty across New York City. I work with our health and wellness division. I work on implementing new health programs at our health centers, and then also I conduct continuous improvement research and provide data analytics and program management support to our health and wellness team. Great to be speaking with you all tonight.
Thank you, Mimi. Awesome to be hearing from you. And now I'd request Wilson Jacobs to introduce himself.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Deep. Thank you, Brianna. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. My name is Wilson Jacobs. I am a graduate of CUNY's MPH program from May 2025, so just this past spring semester. I am, or up until very, very recently, I was a research manager at Weill Cornell Medicine, where I was in the Department of Population Health Sciences, basically running a research lab on behalf of a newer faculty member who had just been awarded an R01 grant from the NIH. So it's from the ground up, recruiting, organizing, managing portfolios, managing different grant submissions, kind of having my hands in helping support all of the team members be able to facilitate their research. So it was more of a project management, kind of program management role. I've recently submitted my resignation because I have just accepted an offer to work for the Department of Health to become the Deputy Director of the Drug Intelligence and Intervention Group under the Office of the Chief Medical Examiner. So that hasn't started and won't start until December 1st, but I can at the very least speak to being in the job market very recently and how to navigate that and how that worked out for my end. Regardless, yeah, nice to be here tonight and speak with you all.
Congratulations on your position, Wilson.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. It's good to hear from you. Now that we know a little bit more about our panelists, we will proceed with the moderated questions that we have. My first question is a general question for all of you guys. Why did you choose to pursue a graduate degree in epidemiology and biostatistics? Any one of you can go first.
I can go. I
Sure.
think like I always was interested in health, probably like a lot of people here, and I did my undergraduate degree actually in engineering. It didn't really like have that service aspect that I always kind of wanted out of a career, and so I actually ended up taking like basically intro to public health class during the last semester of my undergrad, and was able to actually work in the community in Atlanta where I was studying with the sickle cell disease population, as well as like HIV positive and at-risk teen individuals. And from there, I was like, solid, definitely want to be in the public health field, but didn't really know like how to get there. And so then I learned about the master's in public health and thought, okay, this is something I want to do. And it actually took like having my own health related experiences and like kind of seeing the challenges that patients experience in the healthcare system to kind of give me the final push to apply for the MPH. And I chose the epidemiology route because I was always very interested in research and felt that like my quantitative background would serve me well from the biostatistics side. And it was like one of, if not the best career decision I ever made. So yeah.
That's great to hear. Wilson, you can go next.
Yeah, I'll say I cannot top that. But for me, I chose the epidemiology and biostatistics concentration, embarrassing because I was worried about job marketability based on the different concentrations. I was initially in the health policy and management concentration, and then I switched over. And that's something where I struggled when it came to the actual like rigor of programming and the biostatistics courses. But so it was something that I identified early on that maybe wasn't something that I would do or be interested in and succeed in the day-to-day of being in like maybe a research biostatistician, which was a position I was like hoping for and considering. But once I accepted that, then that meant through CUNY SPH's MPH program, I was able to still get the breadth of the other core courses while also having this kind of analytical background that really serves me when it comes to working in the sort of managerial positions I find myself in now, where I can speak the language and really support team members who are a lot more well versed and specialized in performing these kinds of skills.
Hey, thank you so much for your feedback. And Ephraim, can you
Yes.
let us know about your experience? Yeah.
Sure. So similar to Mimi and Wilson, I learned about the MPH
Mhm.
after college, where I majored in English. I was actually working full time for a few years in a full-time customer service role, and was hungry to learn something new, move on to a more engaging and impactful career. Um, and um, and so I learned about the MPH degree. It seemed like a great fit for me as like a social science that's impactful, could give me an opportunity to learn some really useful skills and move on to a career where I can make a positive difference. So actually similar to Wilson, I chose Epi and Biostats because it did seem like the program that could offer me the most concrete and potentially valuable skills. And I will say that I think it was a good choice. Definitely like reading medical articles, interpreting statistics, understanding trial design, um, being comfortable with some of those quantitative aspects is definitely something I found very useful. Also, like Wilson, I'm not like a full scale programmer or biostatistician by any means, but for what I'm currently doing, I do find that the degree was very helpful.
Hey, nice to hear that. Okay. My next question is to Wilson. How did your undergrad experience guide your decision to pursue your career in public health? And what skill did you gain as a graduate student that you have been applying to your role, your current role now,
Mhm.
or the role that you're going to start at the Department of Health now?
Right, right. Well, I also want to echo what Ephraim just said that the having the obtaining the hard skills and the programming skill set was something that was I thought of as like a beneficial aspect to the position. So that was nice to feel like I could acquire those through the program. For my undergrad, how that guided me, it did not. I got a bachelor's of arts in communications and media production very long
Awesome.
ago. So it was unrelated. If anything, I guess it made me more comfortable when I ultimately did like change careers, feeling that I could do that. Like there is a lot of like worry and concern when people have about staying in a particular lane or feeling trapped. And I think there's some people have spoken to that already through this panel. For me, I suppose the one thing it would help based on my undergrad experience was that when I ultimately did change careers from working in entertainment, I did a volunteer with a nonprofit in a research lab, both that were related to mental health, and both were from faculty from my alma mater at UNC Chapel Hill, who were in the psychology department in the psychology program. So had never interacted with them at all, but at least like I did talk to them, and they did see the benefit of my skill sets of being able to produce a diet like complex academic information and translate it into something that's digestible online and for people to like the layman to be able to understand. So I at least was able to get a foothold and provide some benefit through that angle. I will say like from the graduate program, what's been most useful in my current role is again like the rigor of the course itself, the programming language, the having conducted it like that kind of stuff firsthand. So that when I do work with data like analysts or work through the data that we use through our different research programs, I'm able to like have that kind of like personal firsthand experience. And that really helps when it comes to that, because otherwise like it can be more difficult and trying if you don't have that kind of empathy and firsthand experience.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks for your answer. Following up on the volunteer experience, my next question is for Mimi. How can someone leverage volunteer experience into a career? And can you share any example of how a volunteer role helped you build skills or helped in networking?
Yeah, actually, like Wilson's example is super great and similar to mine. I think for me, like volunteering has just provided a great opportunity to gain exposure in like a field or a specific setting that I don't have experience in and therefore should not be paid to do. Um, but
Right.
yeah, there's so many things that you can gain from a role beyond just monetary compensation. And like something an experience that I had right when I started at CUNY, I reached out to the Center for Innovation in Mental Health because I was working at a mental health nonprofit org at the time and wanted to see how I could kind of apply it more from like the public health side. And I was able to volunteer with them for a couple of semesters, and they ended up connecting me with a research team at NYU, who I have literally been working with for the last 3 years. I'm still doing work with them on a volunteer basis because it has just been such a great experience. And I never would have had that opportunity to make that connection had I not reached out and tried to volunteer with the Center for Innovation in Mental Health. And I think like
Right.
it's just like those connections that you build, like the question honestly asked, and you get to build these skills, and it's kind of a low pressure situation, which is great because you have more flexibility. It's almost like a bit of a release to not be getting paid, and not be having like so many expectations. um Even now, I'm currently volunteering at an inpatient psychiatric hospital, which is an experience that I never could have gotten through an actual employment opportunity because I have no background in that. But it has been such a great opportunity to get patient-facing experience, which I haven't really had, at least not in my previous role. And so I would just say that like don't discount volunteer opportunities because they don't pay, because it can also turn into a paying job
Right.
if you do good enough work, and you build those connections. But also like beyond that, the folks I worked with at NYU, like they have written me letters of recommendation. They helped me out with my most recent job search. Like there's a lot to gain just from being in a role and doing good work and showing that you're there because you care. And I know that a lot of people are here because you care and because you want to serve. So um, yeah.
Yeah, nicely said. Volunteering is like beyond monetary compensation. I totally agree to that. It's the experience that counts and the networking, definitely. Um, the next question I want to know from Ephraim, uh, how soon before or after graduating did you start your job search? And how did you come across career possibilities related to your degree and the skill set?
Yeah, I started the job search, I'd say, in earnest, like in the fall of my second year. I know people are on different schedules at CUNY at the School of Public Health, and a lot of people work full time. It's like an evening-based program, right? It's like 5 p.m. and onwards, so when classes start. Um, but I started really working towards like a full-time job in earnest in, yeah, my third semester. And I started networking with families and family members and friends. Um, so, some examples of some opportunities that came up that way. A family member who is connected with the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, which is a very large healthcare philanthropy. So I explored some opportunities over there. A friend of a friend who connected me with a former employer who was a colorectal surgeon looking for a clinical trial research coordinator, my brother who knew a pulmonary and critical care medicine doctor who actually gave me the opportunity to do my summer practicum with him doing research into pulmonary hypertension, and then offered me like a full-time research coordinator role. There's also looking at the SPH job board. I think I spoke to someone who was doing quality at New York Health and Hospitals. Um, and a fellow student at CUNY connected me with a summer job tutoring high school girls in STEM at NYU. That was a cool opportunity. And then ultimately, actually, my first full-time job after the graduate degree, I actually found, believe it or not, in the low probability way, which was an online job board, which ended up responding. And that's actually like the low probability way. So um, that's kind of how it happened.
Great. That's gonna help me too because I'm gonna graduate in my spring semester too, and it's my third semester. I need to start networking and start finding a job now. Yeah.
Good luck.
Uh, yeah. Uh, my next question is to all the panelists. What job search tips do you have for those who are currently seeking employment in public health like me?
Mhm. I'll say from my perspective, it's all variable. It's all based on your own threshold for like financial reasons, um, everything. But as much as you can, you're on the right path. No matter when you get the job offer, it can be after you get the degree, and that means that you have another level of positions available to you when you are applying that you can speak to having earned this degree and also having been able to speak to your capstone experience, which was a really, really exciting experience that like felt like I leveled up in a sense as a result of that. And I got to speak to it when I was like taking different job interviews. I'll also say it's really important to identify positions where you stand out, so that when you do apply, you can speak to that and the qualities that you have. Like I made the mistake of applying to so many different jobs, and it was because I was just like looking for anything, looking for a lane, looking to fit in. And when I got to the point where I was doing the job interview with a lot of those positions, I couldn't really speak to why I was the right ideal candidate for them. If you can like choose quality over quantity, it's not easy to do. Financially speaking, I'll say, um, you will naturally stand out. You can be yourself, and it will fit, and you will fit in much better, I will say. And then also like as much as you can lean in on QD School of Public Health resources,
Right.
including the other like people around you, the faculty. Everyone is here because they want to help you. We are here because we want to help you.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Next, I think Mimi can go.
Yeah. Yeah, totally echoing everything Wilson said, especially about like the timeline piece. Because I know personal experience how frustrating it can get when you are not hearing back and you've applied to 100 jobs and it feels just like you're on the grind, but you will get there, you will make it. And I get and I'd say not in opposition to what Wilson said, but I think like adding to it, it's like I would say cast a wide net, like have some boundaries for what you want and specifics about what you want out of a role. But I know for me, like the job I'm in currently, I did not even know it existed until I got here. And so just like be open-minded about different types of positions and definitely don't be afraid to apply to things that you don't think you're 100% qualified for because I think that holds people back. Like there's always time and like I have learned so much in each of the jobs that I've been in. Like there is space to learn on the job. And so like I mean, I think a good mindset going into like the application process is to just think about it as like you're going to be learning something from that application and from that interview, regardless of whether it pans out the way you want it to. And just keep your head up because you're here for the right reasons. And also don't be afraid to tap into your personal experiences and your personal positioning because that kind of thing can be invaluable. I think a lot of us, myself included, I was always thinking about like the technical side of things and like, do I have the right skills and whatnot? But like a lot of us also have like personal backgrounds that are really specific and unique and cool, and you have these experiences that you can bring to the job that you might not see as valuable, but they are. Um, and lastly, don't be afraid to like cold call or reach out to somebody, like talk to your professors, talk to your classmates. Like worst case, you're gonna get ignored. Best case, it could end up launching your entire career. So just talk to people. Public health people are so nice. Um, yeah, and everything that Wilson
Well,
said.
thanks for this amazing advice. Ephraim, do you have any words?
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think Wilson and
Yeah.
me did a great job covering it. But to add on to that, yeah, I mean, Wilson mentioned the CUNY SPH, staff who are there to help. I know that I definitely met with, I think, Maya's predecessor, Atika Nadim, who was formerly the like the jobs coach kind of person, just like practice interviewing, first get resume help, then practiced interviewing, which was really helpful. Like she had great feedback for me, like about how to interview better, because it's not an intuitive skill for most of us, and it's like it's kind of like a specific thing. I really like what Mimi said about mining like your own personal experience and like examining that and not being afraid to share that and connecting that with the roles you're applying to. People definitely want to see that you're genuine, a personal touch, and then for sure, like I think Mimi and Wilson were both saying the networking is really important, starting with the people right around you, your fellow students, professors, and then your friends, your family. If you're part of a faith-based group or an interest group, just getting to know what they do, talking to them, a lot of things open up that way. And specifically, also it's like a little slightly more formalized, but like informational interviews are really good, where you reach out to someone just to learn about their role. You're not asking for a job. You're not the only request is to have them tell you more about the role and give you some advice. I know that I've reached out to ask for them from people and have found them very valuable, and I've also responded to requests for them. If anyone here is interested in doing that, please reach out. So those are some additional thoughts.
Thank you so much. Don't hesitate to reach out to people, guys. Okay. My next question is to all of you again. What is the most rewarding and challenging part of your work, and what gaps do you see in your current public health workforce, and how can emerging professional help close these gaps?
I'll go first again very quickly.
Okay.
I'd say the rewarding part for me is working alongside subject matter experts, especially like junior faculty members, like the one who I've been working with recently, to help achieve what they're looking for. Like I understood or identified early on for me that I don't have it in me to maybe be a professor or to like lead some of the more like really important, but can sometimes be exhausting work that can consume a lot of your professional life. But I love to be someone who I can like leverage my own like personnel management and like my own experience, like my own skill sets to support someone to be able to do that. And so that's what's great about working in the research lab I've been working in so far. Challenging has been navigating the current funding climate, really difficult. Led to some funding cuts. I've had to make changes to grant applications at the very last minute to address language mandated by the current administration. It's been really, really difficult and really hard for a lot of people. And I feel fortunate because a lot of other people have had much worse situations. Gaps in current public health workforce. I would say, from my perspective, I think there should be the continued building of a community partnership, community advocacy, and community like empowerment to bridge the gap between what's been from my end, like the research vantage point that has built mistrust from the people whose research or like the studies that are supposed to go to like benefit communities. I think in order to improve that, it should be less of a one-way street. I think there's been more conversations about doing that, and I think it should be taken to the extreme of like really placing the community partners and community members and being a member of the community yourself. That should be the relationship. It should be reversed.
Great advice, Wilson. Thank you so much for that.
Mhm.
Mimi, you can go next. Or
Yeah,
yeah,
I love what Wilson just said, by the way. Just want to raise that up because that's so true. I work for a nonprofit organization, and the way that we interact with the community is the most rewarding part. Like being able to live in Harlem, work in Harlem, literally you're seeing the people around that you know that you're serving, and it is so rewarding. And yeah, I cannot agree more that we need to be bridging those gaps between the research side of things and the community, because clearly, and we all know, I mean that's a statement, but a lot of us know that there are historical reasons why that mistrust exists, and like it's on us as public health professionals to be the ones to be minding that gap and closing that gap. I also agree that the policy side of things has been extremely challenging. Recently, luckily, my organization is mostly receiving state and city funding, but to see the way that those policy changes have impacted the people that we serve is like quite devastating. And it makes it challenging sometimes, but at the same time, it's also like a call to action. Like we need to dig in and just be here for the folks that that deserve our support. In terms of the current gaps, besides what Wilson said, I think that there's always a need for patient-facing workers, community health workers, health navigators, even like the more clinical side of things like nursing and mental health and social work professionals. Like we are always in the market for those type of positions. And so yeah, I know that that is really challenging work, but from what I've heard, it's also extremely rewarding, and like even working as a volunteer in that kind of space, I think is a great start to a public health career, because you're really like you're in the trenches with the people that like we're all out here to serve. So
Rightly said. Yeah. Thank you so much. Ephraim, now if you can answer.
Sure. So, in terms of the most rewarding part of my work, I think it's learning about new areas of health and disease states that I didn't know anything about prior to working on the project. Um, it's amazing to see how much medicine has advanced, the level of technology and sophistication there is in treating all kinds of diseases, and what human beings can do when uh, they work towards a goal, a positive goal. I also really enjoy working collaboratively. So that's something I guess I want to raise, and maybe I'll talk. Maybe we'll the three of us will talk more about it. But it's like culture, workplace culture. I think that's really important. So I like the culture that I work in, very collaborative, positive, team-based type of environment. I'd say the challenges at like in my job are managing multiple projects and timelines, particularly managing expectations of clients who generally want everything faster with, out of appreciation for the process that it takes. Um, and so trying to ensure that they're satisfied and will continue to earn their business while also protecting the team that's doing the work and the culture of the workplace so that people can have work-life balance and also, be recognized for their contributions and not criticized unfairly or, you know, uh, yeah, singled out. So that's the challenging side. And then in terms of what's the gaps do I see in current the public health workforce? So yeah, in my role, like I don't know if I'd really be considered in the public health workforce in the same way that Mimi and Wilson are. But I do think that collaboration between public health and industry, like pharma, diagnostic companies, I think that's really important, and something that should be encouraged and there should be more of. It's not like a black and white thing, for-profit versus nonprofit. I think they have roles and there's ways to collaborate, and both play important roles in advancing standard of care and public health. So I think more collaboration would be a good thing.
Right. Great answers from all of you three guys. And my other question is, which I'm sure a lot of students would also be very excited to know, what student opportunities or resources do you take advantage at the CUNY School of Public Health when you were a student? Example, any student groups or any volunteer positions, any on-campus employment opportunities, anything?
I start just to reverse the order.
Yeah, works. Sure.
Okay, so I volunteered with Professor Terry Wong, who I believe is still a professor at the School of Public Health. He was running a very large study of New York City parks at the time, and where basically the study was trying to understand if improving public spaces, public parks in disadvantaged neighborhoods could improve people's health. So I went out with some fellow students who were on the study to the five boroughs, to random playgrounds, little playgrounds and parks throughout the five boroughs, talking to regular New Yorkers, primarily disadvantaged, in disadvantaged neighborhoods, and trying to convince them to sign up for the study. So it's definitely a good experience and getting out of my comfort zone, talking to regular people. And it was kind of fun just to, visit new places in New York every day. So that was one thing I did. And I think I already talked about talking to the jobs counselor at the School of Public Health. That's a great resource. And I think Mimi and Wilson also mentioned, talking to professors, office hours with professors. It's a great thing to take advantage of. The professors are really great. They're all really interested and invested in your growth and success. So, make time to talk to them about your capstone project or your just something you read, or learn more about what they talked about in class, because they're a great resource.
Right. Agreed. Totally agreed. Uh, Next.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything that Ephraim said. Like, yeah, talking to the professors, literally just ask them about their work. Like, they have so much experience, and it's just such a great way to start the conversation, along with any of the other things that he mentioned. Um, I kind of already talked a bit about my work with the Center for Innovation in Mental Health. That's also a CUNY center run by Dr. Victoria No. She's great, super open to like new folks coming in. They're all about mentorship too. So it's just like a really great opportunity, especially if you're interested in mental health. They do a bunch of different research projects and community work as well. And actually, like through that, I was able to apply to the CEASP fellowship, which is cancer epidemiology in special populations, which is open to any MPH or PhD public health student, but it's run by Dr. Amr Solomon, who is a professor at CUNY's medical school. So every year, CUNY students get this fellowship, which is great. I was able to use that to do my field work. It was grant funding from the NIH National Cancer Institute, which is just like crazy for a master's student to be able to get. So it was just a wonderful opportunity. If you have any interest in cancer and you're an MPH student, I would say definitely reach out to Dr. Solomon. Yeah, you get funding to publish, you get funding to present at conferences. It's really great. And you can also go abroad and do research. So it's very cool. And then outside of that, I also worked with both Dr. Kelvin and Dr. Teasdale through an epidemiology class to actually publish a paper. And so like you have these opportunities also through courses that you can take advantage of, especially if you're interested. Like for me, I was very interested in the research side of things. So like having those opportunities through the courses were great. I also was able to apply for funding for a qualitative study with a professor in the community health department. His name is Dr. Matteo Galaver. He's great, Pedro. So yeah, talk to your professors, like was already mentioned. They're all doing cool stuff. So.
All right.
Yeah, a lot of what they said, pretty much, Ephraim, Mimi, thank you for saying much of really important information. I would say for me, echoing the faculty, leaning on your faculty advisor too, as even just a starting point, because I felt like I didn't know where to begin. So just having conversations with them, and also I utilized the Career Skills Academy, and that was great for in-person events, even if they were virtual too, just like events to go to where there were opportunities to talk with the dean of the program, where there were opportunities to talk to like other faculty members who were there and other students. I felt like a more of a sense of like uh I guess like a connection with the program, especially when there are a lot of times more like online like courses offered. This is a way where I could go to the campus and talk to people and feel connected. I also leaned pretty heavily on career advisor Tina Lin, who was welcome and like really excited to talk to me and help me come up with a plan. She's excellent. All the people within the career advising team are great, but she was someone who was excited to set like a follow-up meeting afterwards to continue to work together. So it isn't just like something where you do it one-off. And like me, I think I would easily forget about it. But this was something where there was an advocate in my corner. So there are a lot of great career resources there that are maybe like the easiest to find initially, but are out there and that are organized by really passionate people.
Right. Totally. I think yeah, the thing about Tina Lynn that she's so encouraging and always wanting to schedule appointments, wanting to know the status of what's going on with your career pathway. That she's a really good resource, most definitely, yes.
Hmm.
And also the other things mentioned by our panelists. Um, I'm gonna dive further into the questions. How has your career evolved since finishing your graduate degree? How do you say that? It's evolved.
I can go. So
Sure.
I was working, I already mentioned this, but I was working in a totally different role prior um, to finishing the degree. And actually, I'll just mention a little bit about that because it was essentially like a fully research role. I was running clinical trials. We were a very small team. We were a nonprofit focused in traumatic brain injury and post-traumatic stress disorder. But through the degree, I started thinking more about what I actually wanted to do and kind of like pitch to them the like having a community facing piece of our work where we're engaging community members in the research that we're doing, asking them what's important to them, and like doing that type of work where we kind of like what Wilson actually mentioned earlier. And unfortunately, like one person can't do that. And so that didn't end up like ultimately that didn't end up panning out. But right when I graduated, I had a really great opportunity to live in Colombia for the summer. And I was able to work at a lab down there, which was doing malaria research. And I helped them to put together a research proposal to look at the prevalence of sickle cell disease in the country because there is no numbers around sickle cell, even though it's like very closely related to malaria. And that work and just a lot of the things that I experienced while I was there kind of really impacted what I want to do, even though it's not exactly the same. But it really honed in on like the community aspect that I think I was thinking about a lot because of the public health degree and was trying to bring into my last job, and then experienced that in Colombia and came back, and now I am like I mentioned previously, it's just so beautiful to be able to like live and work in the community that we serve. And that was just not something that I ever had before I went through this program. And yeah, it's just also great to be able to use the skills that you learned in school. So
Right.
that has also been really cool to be able to use R, to be able to like think about study design, to propose different like types of research that we can do like with regards to the programs that we run. Um,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
Great answer. Thank you. Uh, Ephraim, do you have any words regarding this?
Sure, yeah. So I started my first full-time job after the degree was as a consultant for a company that did work for pharmaceutical companies, other life science companies. And it was a lot of like being thrown into the deep end and just sort of sink or swim. So in terms of culture, that's also something that was the culture. It was a lot of like you're kind of gonna figure it out and do it, and so or not. And so it was a lot of being forced to learn and also, I was given a lot of feedback for sure, but learning about client relationship skills, gathering secondary research and qualitative research by talking to experts, and then taking that and putting together a story and slides that will be useful to our clients. Public speaking, these are all things that I had to learn a lot in this first role. Um, and then moved into my current company, which does more marketing and is also a different culture, more collaborative, more team-based. Um, so, um, so yeah, I think it's sort of been an organic, a lot of organic growth at my current company, taking on new opportunities taking on more projects. And yeah, so that's kind of how my career has evolved so far since
That's a
graduating with
great
the degree.
journey. Yeah, nice to hear about that. Now, let's hear from the audience. You're welcome to put any questions in the chat. Brianna will read out your questions from the chat. You can also use the raise hand feature to ask any questions out loud to our panelists, if you want. Does any of you have any questions? Yes, Roshali, you can go first. Yeah.
Hi, can you hear me? Can you guys hear
Yes.
me?
Yes.
First of all, thank you all of you, and thank you, Deepa. It's such a motivating and such a great learning experience. I had it today here. I have a question for all three of the panelists. Like first of all, the quality of as now all of you are working. I have read this somewhere that the what I mean, I know epibios is like tough, it's all math, but once you start working, the work-life balance when it comes to work is more comfortable. Like many times you may have opportunities to work from home or the job is not stressful. Is that true or not? And how do you rate the same thing? Like how would you say when it comes to your work? And second is, how often do you attend APHA conferences now, like when you were students here and now that you all are working, how do you think it's important? How valuable it is going to these conferences, you know? That's it. These are my two questions.
Great. I will say from my perspective, the value of attending those conferences is dependent on how you value a career in research and what you see yourself in that kind of position in research. For me, I was in somewhat of a unique position. So, like CUNY SPH, there are a lot of people, working professionals who are students at the same time. I was working in at Weill Cornell, so an academic health institution already. And the more I got into it, the more I understood that I didn't, again, like want to be in a more centralized position where I was necessarily publishing research. I was helping those publish research. So I was in a more supportive, like program manager sort of position. So it, like managing my time in terms of getting my coursework done and being able to continue to like work 9 to 5. I didn't attend any conferences. In terms of your question about the quality of life and comfort, I think at the like job market population, like wide scope, yes, there is a pretty comfortable work-life balance and a more like applied like analyst or programmer position. There's more of a uh like an expectation, at least from what I've seen, like at Weill Cornell, where like you don't necessarily have to be like working in person. I know like we have research biostatisticians who it's pretty flexible and it depends on the different departments. But also it depends on the different departments. It depends on the team. Where some teams have been called in to come in more in person. I think post-COVID, there is a justification to most people have been able to conduct their work in that kind of programming capacity remotely. But yeah, it's changing, it's evolving. I think it's going from something that was generally geared more towards remote, but is going to depend on the different positions and organizations.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. I think, yeah, it depends on your role, totally. Like, just like Wilson said, for me, I work 3 days in the office, 2 days remote. That's just, I feel like that's very typical for like an office-based job. I know that some of our staff are on site every day because they're seeing patients. So, that makes sense. But like also there's been a shift to telehealth. So it really just depends on your role. I think like Wilson already said, like if you're in more of a programming or statistics role, then there's a lot higher chance that you'll probably be able to do something fully remote. But yeah, it depends on the org because, we see even some of these tech orgs that are making people come into the office every day now. So it definitely depends. And then same for the work-life balance. I would say like Ephraim touched on earlier, like the company culture is huge. So I mean, in my last job, which was pre getting the master's, but like still a nonprofit organization, is like there was no boundaries around how long people would be working or how late. In my current role, I had to be told multiple times to log off at the appropriate time because they are very big on work-life balance and very big on like having actual personal relationships in the office and with your coworkers. And so, yeah, I think it's very dependent on the organization. But generally, as I've said before, like I think in public health, like you're going to be around a lot of really good people. And especially if you pick an organization that you align with in terms of mission, like everybody's going to be there for the same reason as you, generally. So, yeah, just a couple of things to think about in terms of like what your priorities are and what you want out of a job.
And I can't really speak to the conferences part of the question so much. I haven't really attended a lot of them. But in terms of the work-life balance, picking up where Mimi left off, yeah, it definitely depends on the organization's culture. I'm also in the office 3 times a week. So, like Mimi said, I think that's pretty common now. 3 times per week, twice at home. Um, Generally, work-life balance is definitely something that's stressed at our company. People work 9 to 5 generally. There are times where people work later or over the weekend, such as when there's a new drug launch, the FDA approves a new drug, and then the pharmaceutical company wants to unload a lot of different marketing and communication pieces, as soon as possible thereafter. So that's the time where people may work late, or sometimes there's urgency around deadlines, people will work late, but generally work-life balance is respected at my company, which I really appreciate. That's important for me. And I think more broadly, I think in school there's a feeling of like anxiety around getting a job and like proving oneself and like earning a living. Um, and for me, once I started working, um, well, my first role, I was still pretty nervous that I was like how about my performance. But I think, as you grow into the role, you become more confident. There is a change where it's different than being in school. It's more comfortable. It feels better. You feel more integrated into the community of your organization, and yeah, it becomes a little less or a lot less stressful than when in school and looking for the next opportunity.
That's great. Okay. Our next, Gabriel, do you want to go next?
Yeah, thanks so much. And yeah, I want to echo thanks to the panelists as well. I'm actually not a CUNY student. I'm a student at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill at the Gillings School of Global Public Health. This was passed along from my career advisor. And with intentions to move to New York after I'm done with my program, I wanted to see if you guys have any advice about, yeah, if you have advice at all for a non either native or somebody who hasn't spent a lot of time in New York, entering the job market into a bigger city than what I'm used to. I've traveled to New York many, many times, but not having that on the ground knowledge. I'm wondering if any of you guys could speak to that.
I was applying to jobs in New York when I was living in Atlanta, so maybe kind of similar. It's a big city, but it can also be really small. And so I think if you can find people to connect with, um, then like that makes it small. I think if you are able to like reach out to organizations, and I mean there's so many, I guess it depends on what type of work you want to do, but there are so many community organizations here, and that are probably looking for people. I don't know exactly, but like I said, like my org is definitely hiring all the time, and it depends on what you want to do. When you said global public health, I know that NYU has a global public health program, so it might be interesting if you're interested in research to look at some of the professors there. But yeah, also academic institutions are always also a good place to start. Like we have so many here in New York, and a lot of them do public health. Like we are, obviously CUNY, NYU, Columbia. and I'm sure there's others too. Also, we have a bunch of hospital systems, and a lot of Wilson was working at Weill Cornell. A lot of them also do research. We also have New York Presbyterian, NYU Langone. So yeah, I guess it really depends on what you want to do, but like making those intro like weird emails that you send out to random people, like just do it. Don't be afraid to like cold reach out to somebody, or especially if you have contacts that could give you an introduction, leverage that because yeah, coming from a different area can be challenging, but it's not the worst. I think that if you want to relocate here, like that's I think probably like the biggest hurdle truly. So like come through and yeah, use your connections as best you can. Maybe you have professors at UNC who know people in New York, so maybe ask about that. Um, yeah, there's a lot of opportunities here.
Yeah, I'll say go Heels. You should tap into the alumni network. Feel free to reach out to people who went to that school. It's a great school. I went to that school. Also, there's a big cohort of UNC alum out here. And for anyone, like a lot of people here are CUNY School of Public Health graduates, but also if you went to an undergrad program, the bigger it is, the better, but also the smaller it is, the more specialized like those connections are with people, the more I'd say supportive they are. So it's beneficial either way. Also, really appreciate and respect like what you're doing right now. I think that's emblematic of, I'd say another useful way to get a foothold is to not only look at what opportunities are here at CUNY School of Public Health, but don't be afraid to reach out to other institutions within New York City to see if there are other like a career-based programs that they would allow you to attend. I think most people are generally pretty chill about it. And then also, um, even within like CUNY's own network, it's like so many different universities. There are like some cross university programs within like the CUNY like umbrella. But I remember I was looking at career events at like Columbia. I didn't get very far in that just because I like got distracted, but there are tons of different programs happening. Also like tons of professional like job boards happening for these different hospital systems, and the hospital systems are massive. So definitely a lot of great opportunities for big organizations that you can tap into academically and professionally.
Yeah, and the only thing I'll echo is, yeah, I mean, UNC alumni that live in New York could always be a good avenue. I know I did that. I graduated from Rutgers as an undergrad, and they have like, like a listing of alumni who are happy to be contacted. So, and by location or whatever. So that's another good starting point for networking.
Mm.
Awesome. Thanks so much, y'all. Appreciate you.
And next, Hannah, do you want to go?
Yeah, thank you so much. This has been so interesting and helpful so far. So I'm actually not a CUNY student. I'm actually doing data and analytics work at a media company. So it's good to hear some backgrounds from people who didn't start off immediately in public health. And I guess just sort of as I'm considering MPH and the jobs that can come from that, I do research on the side and various sort of like public health volunteer things. I guess just sort of how do you like bridge that career experience that wasn't initially rooted in public health, and sort of like leverage your skills and volunteer experience and sort of like overcome maybe a little bit of the imposter syndrome.
Well, I can start with that. I mean, first of all, the imposter syndrome, if you're already working doing data and analytics at a media company, if I heard you correctly, um, you have already proven that you have the skills and the ability to be hired full time, right? And so I mean, you're already there. I think a lot of people here are trying to get their first full-time like job in let's say a data or analytics kind of position. So I think it's more about just learning more about public health, networking with people who are in public health, and learning some of maybe the specific language around public health, but I think you should be confident in already having like a good base of experience. One thing that I did want to say at some point was that yeah, kind of like every opportunity, like all your opportunities, will build on each other. So you know, your career, just talking to people, the volunteer opportunities we talked about, those are always to gain, to widen what you know and increase the chances of your finding the opportunity you're looking for to make an impact in public health.
Yeah, echoing that, it sounds like you're already doing the work. Like you're already volunteering in a public health setting, which is awesome. And like it does feel like for me, that was the best way possible that I could bridge that gap because I was like getting from just one side of thing, like the like very specific stuff, trying to go more broad into the public health space. So I think like yeah, the more of that type of thing you can do, I mean, reading stuff, listening to podcasts, there's so much information out there about public health that there's something um that you're specifically interested in. I'm sure there is resources to learn about it. But yeah, coming to this kind of thing, it just like all of the stuff that you said that you're doing. And then if you do end up doing the degree, that's gonna now you are in public health for 100% for sure. So, um, yeah, it seems like you're really on the right track.
Yeah, you're doing great. Keep it up. This is it. It's the like I from my personal experience, it's the doing the volunteer work is how I helped like change careers. Already doing that. The fact that it's like in research itself is amazing, and also yeah, you can decide later on if the pro like going through this kind of program makes sense. I don't think there's any like there's always a benefit to it. But I will also say that the system analysts that I know within my data team at Weill Cornell, they have a mixed background. Some of them went through the like a Master's of Science, some of them went through an MPH program, some of them just had programming experience from a different field. So I think you being able to acquire this kind of knowledge and get into like these professional development like events or going to different conferences, like you can definitely get that knowledge and information the way you're doing it right now, which is outside of your workplace, and you already have that professional experience from data analytics. So it's up to you, but I think you're really doing the work right now. And I also got to say, I'm just really happy that there's a big showing or representation of CUNY like students here, but also other people who are just outside of that field and are just interested in learning more about this.
Great, okay. It's nice.
Mhm.
We have one more question in chat by Shine. Epidemiology and biostatistics is often deemed the most difficult and confusing aspect of public health study. How do you shift your attention from these and thrive in this field?
I would say yes, it may be the most technical, but it is also really flexible in that you get to decide first of all, what you want to do with your degree, but also if you are going into the research and the statistics side, like with the research especially, you get to decide like your methods. I mean, to some degree, right? Like as we learned in class. But so I mean, you're only going to do the things that you know how to do, right? So also um beyond that, like you have mentors all throughout the way. Your first job, they're not going to throw you into the boiling pot and be like, do this, and you have had no experience. Like you're going to have guidance, you're going to have support, especially if you go into research, like you're working on a team. And so I wouldn't be afraid, don't be afraid to make mistakes, like just have good quality assurance checks. um but that's kind of a joke. Also, for me, I like to frame things around like what's the impact, and so that helps me to when I'm struggling with something like some technical work, some data or programming work, and then take a step back and be like, what is going to be the outcome of this, and like what is the intended impact, and like who is this going to, like what is this going to improve for people. And so that's kind of a nice way to shift the focus, like you mentioned. And yeah.
Any of you want to go next, or
Um, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Please go ahead, Ephraim.
No, just good. It depends like what you end up doing with your degree also, right? I mean, I know that learning we were talking about this in the waiting room before we started, learning R or SAS. It's hard, it's technical, it's difficult. And you may end up being being a biostatistician and a data analyst on a team like Mindy's describing with people who can help you, or you might decide to do something like marketing and consulting for pharmaceutical companies, in which case you may not. I mean, we have data analysts also actually at our company who do a lot of work, actually some in SAS, Excel. So just to say there, it depends on like you don't have to pursue that hardcore technical side and still gain a lot from your degree and apply a lot. Like Wilson mentioned, analytics and analytic skills you learn from it. For me, it's a lot about reading medical papers and understanding the statistics. Like you can gain a lot from the degree and apply it in many other kind of niches within public health or the life sciences industry more broadly and health systems and beyond.
right?
Yeah, agree with like what you're saying, what Mimi was saying. Like, I think what I was struggling with for a long time was feeling like I was on this path and it didn't matter what I wanted to do with it. And so you can be quite adept when it comes to these complicated programming skills and epidemiology. And if you want to do it, then it's there. And you have that opportunity to work, generally speaking, with a team where it is okay to fail or to make mistakes, because we're all like in an ideal situation, in a workplace situation, like here to support each other. You can also do something that like a frame or like I am doing, where it's not as close to the actual conduct of programming. I realized a while back, like I'd drive myself crazy if I was like doing that for a full-time position. Like I have so much respect for the people who can do that, but I'd love to instead, what drives me, what makes me feel passionate is like me being able to help them. Or being a part of a bigger team where we're like, that's a crucial aspect of it. And I contribute in my other ways, and there are other people who contribute. So you're in probably one of the more difficult aspects of it right now, which is like the epidemiology courses, the biostatistics courses, and you're learning. And so those are going to be some of the more like trying moments, but it's also the moments where like you're not expected to have it down perfectly. So you can make mistakes, and you can also like finish the program and do something tangentially related to it, directly related to it, or unrelated to it, because you also finished with a master's of public health. And that means you have a lot of other strengths and knowledge, like benefiting you from this program. That's not just strictly epidemiology and biostatistics.
Right, right. Mamadou Diallo.
Yeah, hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry to mispronounce your name.
Oh, no problem, no problem. Not a big deal. I just want to thank all the panelists today. Thank you for all the advice and all the information you've been giving us. I'm a CUNY SPH student. Next in the spring is going to be my final semester. Um, I just want to know because, you know, I've had a lot of anxiety essentially of like graduating from this program and not being able to find a career or something that I would find fulfilling. And I had it for a while until I started my field work. Just for some background, I do field work at the Global Alliance for Preventing Pandemics at Columbia Mailman School of Public Health. So I'm just working in the lab office, doing a lot of virus surveillance of different viruses on Africa, dengue virus, polio virus, all those stuff. And it interests me because, I've taken a lot of biology courses in my undergrad um, career, genetics, microbiology. That stuff interests me, and it really does feel fulfilling, honestly. And now I'm like, I honestly want to do this in epidemiology. So I'm just like, I'm starting my networking. I'm starting to like really focus in on career building. I've been talking to Tina. Sorry, I'm going too long, but basically, like, what should I do to really lock in something, to really like, am I on the right path? Or do I just want some guidance in that perspective. Sorry if that was a bit rambly. But
That's great, Mamadou, and I can start here. Yeah, I think it's great that, you know, I've had been through a very similar experience, having a lot of anxiety about like what is it that I'm going to end up doing? Will I find an opportunity? I'm really happy to hear that you feel good about this internship or volunteer opportunity that you have in this uh, you know, epidemiology surveillance. Um, role. And I think you're totally on the right track. The fact that this is something you feel good doing, that you enjoy the work, that you're interested in it, that I think that's what you should go with, right? That feeling of like, okay, this is actually kind of interesting. I'm kind of enjoying this. Like, let that lead you and snowball, right? And just follow that path because it's definitely going to lead you somewhere good. You're going to form relationships with people. You're going to learn more about what you enjoy. That what about the work is interesting to you. You'll be expanding your knowledge base. So I really think that kind of organic way of growing into a career is really great. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. I think the way you're doing it though, and like tuning into what you're enjoying and finding that you're gaining traction in this professional role is great. So just keep doing everything you said you're doing, and of course the networking and just let one opportunity lead to the next.
thank you.
Okay, seems like Josephine, do you have any question?
I do, yes. So my background is a little bit different from most people here, and I don't mean to be any discouraging to the question I'm going to ask, but I graduated my master's of public health in epidemiology back in 2022, and at the time the market was great. It was right, at the end of the COVID, there was a lot of epi positions, so I was working, and I got up to a project manager position in a federal field, and then my grant was terminated with the new administration. And so I wanted to kind of seek your advice on what advice would you give to someone who's I guess I would say transitioning, but at the same time rediscovering the epidemiology field, especially at the political times that we're in.
I think it's tough. I think it's really difficult, and I'm really really sorry about the fact that your job came to an end because of that. It really doesn't make any sense. Um, I I think it like everyone's going to have different answers to this, but it is trying to stay in touch with what mattered to you when it comes to this, and also just giving yourself space to like feel the fact that like this ended and it didn't end in a way that was that it should have. And yeah, like other than that, still looking into that, talking to like your network and your community of people who are in this, including CUNY, plugging into the professional resources if they for alums, but then also finding other ways that are meaningful to you, whether it's like volunteering or just doing nothing. Like anything to get you through this period right now that we're in, and that a lot of people are going through, where we can hopefully like dig our heels in, make changes where we can continue to, in a professional capacity, advocate for the public health and epidemiology efforts and programs that are so necessary. Yeah, I wish I had something better.
Okay, I think with
Thank
this
you.
we are coming to the end of our program, and I want to thank all of our panelists for being here with us tonight. To close out, I'd request each panelist to give us their final thoughts. Mimi, you can go first.
Okay. I do want to acknowledge that the last question. But yeah, also just it's a terrible situation right now, and it really a lot of things are happening that should not be, as I think a lot of us know. But my final thoughts were actually quite related. I think that like when we're feeling stressed and frustrated and like going through this job search and you're just on the grind, like Wilson said, I want to echo, like, just take a second for yourself, because like you deserve some gratitude for yourself for being here, for doing this type of work, for serving other people. Like you made a conscious decision to be here and like be doing this kind of stuff. And like I know that that doesn't seem like a lot, like when it comes to we all have bills to pay, we all need health insurance, like this is serious stuff when it comes to like having a job. But give yourself a second, give yourself some grace, give yourself a moment. Like we all need that positive energy, and just remember to take care of yourself as you're going through this stuff, because it can be really challenging and overwhelming, and I know I've experienced that myself. And one thing, just like one thing that I would do when when I was getting super anxious and I couldn't handle it, I would just like look at myself in the mirror and just thank myself for like choosing to be like in this field and doing this type of work. And like lean on your support systems, lean on the people that care about you. And then when you're ready to keep it pushing, do so, because we all need you guys out there. Like this is a team effort. And I'm gonna stop because that was enough for me.
That was so helpful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll also say this is a difficult process right now. A lot of people are going to go through it. And to what Mimi was saying, um, take the time you need to, whether that's with your people, with the community, find like other avenues that are not so dependent on like positions, interviews, the job marketplace. I've been like volunteering a lot, and that's been something that's been really meaningful. But even if it's just like watching movies with friends or something, like things that give you space and gratitude because you are doing the kind of work that's some of the most important stuff. And yes, again, like Mimi was saying, like just caring enough to get involved